What's up, ScrubHub?
What is up? I'm Doc Bishop.
And I am Pants.
And you guys are watching the follow-up to our trilogy. That is Kingdom Hearts. Nope, stop, pause. We gotta start over.
What? What are you doing?
We gotta start over.
What?
Stop the video. Stop the video. And reset it back to 30 minutes.
I don't know what happened. We're not losing this footage, baby. That was good. That was a good intro. What is he doing to me? Welcome to ScrubHub. I don't know what's happening right now. And apparently something's happening. Oh my god. Dude, no fucking way. What the fuck are those?
Trilogy of Kingdom Hearts, baby.
Oh my fucking god. No fucking way. Dude, where?
Store. A store. Honestly, I forget. I got them for the wife. They're Sora shoes.
Well, no shit. Who else is wearing those fucking huge things besides your wife?
I didn't have Kingdom Hearts socks, so
You upgraded, apparently. Dude, they have fucking metal clips in them.
Dude, right?
They're huge. What size are those?
Clown.
I think they're Sora size. They're hero size, thank you.
You
Speaking of heroes, we are talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 today. Dude.
So uncomfortable.
Doc, how are you doing, man?
I'm so tired.
After running
Oh, man.
to get your fucking Sora shoes.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Is my mic actually recording? Okay, there it is.
Yeah,
I was talking.
It's there.
It's being weird. There is a short in my microphone. I think it is the cable. The cable is bad. Sorry. I'm going to try to not move it. I'm out of breath, man.
Out of breath? But how was your week?
Dude, my week was fine. Played a lot of Kingdom Hearts 3.
That's good. I did too.
So yeah, we're talking about Kingdom Hearts 3. This is the second opinion of Kingdom Hearts 3. So if you had an opinion of it and you're listening to us, we're your second opinion.
That's right. That's right.
So Kingdom Hearts 3, what were your thoughts? So this is where it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
I've played every Kingdom Hearts game. So I know the ins and outs and backgrounds and upside downs.
All of it.
Oh, dude, my knee.
It's the fucking big ass shoes you got on, boy. Oh my god.
So you've played. I'm just going to play these up the whole time.
You got it.
Oh, my
I
feet.
get it. I get it, man.
What
I've got to ask, do they have memory foam in them, or because Sora's running around a lot, man. He's doing a lot of stuff.
These are honestly pretty soft, but they feel weird.
What's the traction on them? Because dude's running up buildings and shit now. I gotta know. Are they Nikes,
Dude,
or Adidas?
the traction on these is freaking slip and slide.
So they're Chucks. So they're Chuck Taylors. Okay.
Do you see that? Do you guys see that?
Your fucking feet look hilarious right now. Anyway.
So what I was saying is I've played all the games. You've
right.
only played 1, 2, and 3. So coming out of that, where do you stand in regards to Kingdom Hearts as a whole? Like if you're like, man, Kingdom Hearts is good or bad or confusing or what?
I think initially I remember saying to you, this is not a game for people that don't play Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
But over time, my opinion's changed because I'm kind of in between, like you said. I haven't played all the side games, and we talked about that in previous Kingdom Hearts games.
Like I'm sure there are parts that are confusing.
There were confusing parts, but I think there's enough in the game of itself to be like, dang, I'm missing some stuff. And the other thing, too, is you've got a buddy that plays Kingdom Hearts, you know what I mean? You've got at least one friend that plays Kingdom Hearts, and it gives you a great opportunity to be like, dude, I played Kingdom Hearts 3. There's some stuff I don't know. Can you point me in the right direction? Because I'd love to play the games to unlock more story about this side, or what's this about? Maybe your friend can recommend one game that kind of answers a couple questions for you, or
that's a really good. There's several games, and just being able to answer some questions and being able to play a game in the process.
Exactly. Yep. and that's what I think that's what Kingdom Hearts is all about, is the story. And I admittedly, I think the story is fantastic in 3. There's enough in 3 to call it Kingdom Hearts 3. It's its own game.
Well, I agree. So,
but it is a culmination of a lot of the story.
I was gonna. That's exactly, culmination was exactly what I was gonna use. Kingdom Hearts 3 is the culmination of the Kingdom Hearts games, the Birth by Sleep game, the 358 over 2. 358 over 2 is what it's called. 358 over 2 days.
So weird.
I know, it's so weird. It's all of these games coming together, as well as obviously you have Chain of Memory references and stuff. It's all of the games. Shoot, even Unchained, which was the mobile game.
It went into that game quite a bit, actually, in my opinion.
Well,
not too
there were a
much.
lot of references,
And
there was one major reference. So all these games come because this is the end of the Dark Seeker saga, right? This is the end of Xehanort's.
Apparently, now that we've gotten Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer.
Yes. And and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. So the Dark Seeker saga is over now. Xehanort's story is done unless they pull some shenanigans in Kingdom Hearts 4.
But even then, if you've played it to its entirety, it wraps it up in such a way that you're just like, there's just...
In Kingdom Hearts 4...
I don't want to say this too much far ahead because I got a feeling about the end of the story that I really loved that no other game or perhaps even a story that's been told to me in a movie, music, or television has ever wrapped up a story in such a way, which makes me feel like Xehanort's story is over.
I think his story...
Maybe it's not over, but he's not the villain.
So I think his story is done, and his origins is super cool too. You should look into that. Kingdom Hearts Dark Road is how you get into his origins. I think his story is done, for sure. Unless he may be referenced, but there are still tons of things that are unanswered that you maybe don't know. Like things with the foretellers, things with the Master of Masters, things with the girl that was friends with Isa and Lee. Like, there are things that aren't answered in this that should be answered in Kingdom Hearts 4 moving forward. So I'm super stoked to start a whole brand new journey with Sora, which it is controversial based on the graphics. But Nomura came out and said that that's because of the world he's in. Just like anything else.
Did he announce that? He officially? Okay.
He did say that. It is because he's in Quadratum, which is based on a real world. Spoilers, by the way. It is based on a real world world. Like, everybody in that world perceives the world basically how we perceive our world.
Yep.
And because of that, Sora is the way he is.
And that makes a lot of sense.
We see proof of that with Donald and Goofy at the end of the trailer. Right? They are cartoons when Hades is there.
Yeah.
Like, so there's still the cartoon shader stuff.
Plus, in Kingdom Hearts 3, they might not have made this a main focus, but they definitely did their best to remind you that it exists, is the world orders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
it's
how,
a big deal.
like, when you go somewhere, you are to have some sort of the word's escaping right now, but be cognizant of what you say. Like, don't spill on where you really came from, and your appearance will change.
It's really a play off of Sora in Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, he lacked that understanding of the world order because the first game didn't really push it, but Kingdom Hearts 2 did, because you got into like Lion King and Timeless River and all these things that changed his appearance.
Yeah.
They explained it one time in the first game, and that's when Sora had a tail in Atlantica. But the second game really did it. So the third game kind of re-emphasized the world order. Again, this game came out like 14 years after it got announced. It was a very long time.
Super, super long time.
Because of just changes in engines and whatnot.
there was also a lot of story to be built up too prior to that. It's not like frankly, there's two things I want to say. Me and you talked a little bit about one of these prior to jumping on the podcast. First and foremost, this is a biased opinion. For most of those people that say that they didn't like Kingdom Hearts 3, you didn't fucking finish it, dude. Because fuck you. Like, frankly, like, you just didn't finish the game because it's so good.
Can I be devil's advocate for a little bit?
That's fair.
Like, I think so there are several things that changed, right? One of the major things is Kingdom Hearts was introduced as a Disney cross Square Enix Final Fantasy mashup game. We got that in Kingdom Hearts 1. We got that in Kingdom Hearts 2. How many Final Fantasy characters did you see in Kingdom Hearts 3?
None.
0. There were 0. Until the DLC. And my understanding is because of time constraints, Final Fantasy characters were cut out. Okay, fair enough. I get it. Except the game took very long. I guess like that's one of the probably loudest things. There are very few worlds. There are 7 worlds, 8 worlds.
It is lacking in versatility of like exploration. There's a lot to explore, but really you're exploring a lot of the same places.
Because even Kingdom Hearts 1 had, I think, 12 or 15 worlds. Kingdom Hearts 2 had maybe 12 worlds. I'm going to say that might be low, but you visited all of them twice.
Oh,
it was so crazy.
And each time that you visited, it was like you were doing the world again. Like you were actually...
And it was different stuff. It was continuation. It was all kinds of stuff. And every other game had several worlds. Final Fantasy. Kingdom Hearts 3 had the least amount of worlds in any Kingdom Hearts game. So that was a big deal, but they were huge, honestly.
They were pretty large.
They were huge.
And
the
environments were pretty exciting to explore, too.
So there's kind of a there. I love the new Keyblades.
Oh, they're so sick. You know
the
what
Keyblade
I mean?
transformations.
Yeah, super dope.
And things. I think that's super cool. There's not a huge emphasis on abilities. So that's so there's so much give and take, right? So I didn't use magic that often during the game. But like Kingdom Hearts 2, I know I did. There was a lot of abilities that are tied. You also had like Valor form and Wisdom form in Kingdom Hearts 2. That is not in this game. They kind of took that and applied it to all the Keyblades.
Yeah, and I kind of like that, but I don't know. It's just a different game, right?
So
it's just different.
There's a lot that's different. The story in Final Fantasy. Oh my god!
You really want to play Final
Dude,
Fantasy?
I know. Kingdom Hearts. The story in Kingdom Hearts 2. So this was my takeaway. This is my second time playing through Kingdom Hearts 3 entirely. Going through each of the worlds is almost unnecessary.
Oh yeah, it's pretty not essential for you to do anything in the world.
The whole point. So we're gonna jump into the story. The whole point is the game starts off. The whole darkness versus light clash, Keyblade War, is coming to a head, and they don't have all their Guardians of Light. They still need more. They have Sora, they have Kairi, they have Lee, they have Mickey, they have Riku. That's all they have. They need at least 2 more. So they know of Aqua, who's in the realm of darkness, and Aqua knows where Ventus is. So there's 2 more right there. But so Sora has lost the power of waking, and that's pretty much he sets off to get that power back, to get his strength back that he had in Kingdom Hearts 2. And so you go to the different worlds, and that's his point. He's going to the different worlds to learn how to get that power back.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, it feels like there's no real reason to go to those worlds. The worlds are great. They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, we get stuff like Frozen, which is really cool. San Fran Tokyo for Big Hero 6. Super cool. Toy Story, super cool.
Oh, yeah. Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. Man, we get so many cool worlds, but the reasons we're going there is,
Yeah, it's like
Man.
kind of by the. This is like almost an overlying premise. I believe it was Ventus at this one point in the story where he says Sora's like, I don't have the power of awaking, and Ventus is just like, you've had it the whole time, it was just sleeping itself.
yeah.
And it's almost like you go through all these worlds to find out like, oh, Sora's had the power the whole time, he just needed to believe in himself,
Which
to
is
do
a
it.
typical trope.
So it is typical, and it's like it's part of what is the old, it's like this structure of telling stories. It's like old, like the hero does this, the hero's downfall, blah blah blah. You're gonna follow and see a lot of those tropes told time and again in different stories, whether it be Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, or maybe even a fucking McDonald's story, like
Right.
of the toys or whatever. You're just gonna see these same tropes over and over again, and I think that's okay, because it's a dictation of the human condition, right?
Side note, did you know that almost every storyline, if not every storyline, can be broken down into one of 37 different storylines? Like 37.
Oh, just any.
That's it.
Yeah,
Everything
just-
falls into one of
yeah.
37.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. It just falls into some sort of
Super
trope,
interesting.
and I think that's okay, because again, that's part of the human condition is, normally we can fall and we can empathize and relate to something, so you're gonna tend to see a lot of the similar things over again and told in stories. I don't have a problem with that as much as it is, there was never, as soon as I finished a world, I guess, like, there was always in previous games this anticipation, oh, I'm going to see my friends again.
Mhm.
Like, and I will actually go back again. In this one,
Kingdom Hearts 1
was like-
kind of had that.
kind of, not a lot, but Kingdom Hearts 2, which in my opinion is...
Like,
Ma-
Kingdom Hearts 1, I think, had it, but had... Well, maybe it didn't. I feel like it had, like, multiple keyholes, but maybe it did not. Maybe it only had one. But 2 specifically, every world had 2, if
It
not
did.
3.
And it did. And when you went... Like I said, when you finished a world in 3, it was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to move on. And there's, like, never a reason for me to,
Not
like...
until you beat the game and you get all the in-game content.
And then maybe then. But
even then, they're just like, you activate a thing. It's like, okay, fight all these enemies. You know what I mean?
right, now you're just done. So I don't know. The tropes and everything, the story is good, but I really loved being able to, like, know that I'm going to come back or something like that. And that was just, like, as a result of playing those games. It's not like I got a choice
Yeah.
in how it was made, but Kingdom Hearts 3 was different in terms of, like, you finish a section, you're just, like, basically done with it.
Yeah. The pacing of the game is a little lopsided.
Yeah, it doesn't feel
Because-
as, like...
Because the worlds are kind of like non-consequential, which we just talked about.
Yeah.
But, man, buddy, as soon as you beat all those worlds, the real game starts.
Yeah, it's like literally, frankly,
It's just story,
Yeah.
content.
I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 was literally like Disney saying, okay, Square Enix, that's a cool game, but we have to put some of our movies in there. So to get the funding, frankly, I'm gonna break meta here. All the Disney and the worlds are cool, but let's talk
Yeah,
about real world stuff. Disney was like, we need at least 6 movies in there, or 7 movies. You guys can make whatever game you want. So it was literally like they threw the worlds in there, and they were like, okay, now we can conclude the Kingdom Hearts story finally.
There's a clear distinction in one of the worlds, Arendelle, that it's pretty apparent that Disney had their hands on it, because
So much.
Out
I
of
skipped scenes in that.
out
in that world.
of all of that world, there are parts of that there seem to be missing content. And my understanding is basically it's Frozen, and at that time Frozen was a huge deal, right? So you couldn't kind of taint what Frozen was, so things seemingly got pulled out, kind of misconstrued. and you kind of got left with a world. In my opinion, it's a really cool world,
I fucking hated it.
but it's one of the most disappointing worlds.
Yeah, I couldn't stand it because it was literally Frozen of the entire game. We were talking about something else. I'm going to tell you what my least favorite part of the game was. It's Frozen. Because it's literally Frozen is climb to the top of the mountain. We're going to kick you off. Climb up again. Someone else is going to kick you off. Climb up a third time. A third person's going to kick you off. Or maybe it's an avalanche this time. Or Heartless. Get up there a fourth time, and we're going to... What are we going to do, Doc?
In all reality, you only
gonna
go up
kick
the
you
mountain
off.
once, and then you go down.
No.
You get
dude.
knocked down, and you continue going up, but then you go back down the mountain.
You literally had to do it over and over and over again. It was just like... It felt like I was... Honestly,
Did you go back to the... You didn't go back to World? Dude, there's a really cool, like...
Fuck no.
There, you know the part of the world where you jump on Goofy's shield and you sled through?
Yeah.
There's a whole mini game based on that. It's actually really cool.
Well, I've been over, there was a couple spots where I got to do that. You got to do that in Pirates.
And the boss was really neat, the wolf.
I thought it was cool.
Again, it's like...
back and forth, up
It's
and
again,
down.
it's
I'm
like, wait,
God.
what? Where did this come from? So clearly Disney had a thing, but Kingdom Hearts is clearly moving away. Like Disney
It
will
is
always be a
moving
part of it, right?
I
So
think it
Disney
was a lot
will
of funding
always-
early on.
Disney will always want a part in it as far as the levels. Like Kingdom Hearts 4 looks like we're going into Endor and stuff for Star Wars. And at the beginning, Final Fantasy was a huge part. So we had Final Fantasy in it, we had Disney stuff in it, and that drove a lot of the game. And now maybe we're moving away because I'm sure Nomura wants Sora to be his own thing. He wants his own characters, his own story. Not that the Kingdom Hearts weren't his story, but like
But
he wants it to evolve without Final Fantasy being the driving force or Disney being the driving force. It should be its own merit,
totally, because
which I think's fair.
Because Kingdom Hearts, frankly, if we can dissect what Kingdom Hearts is and where like the franchises kind of lie, you have Disney, you've got Square Enix, which obviously Kingdom Hearts, when I'm about to say this, falls under Square Enix too.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
I should say Disney, Final Fantasy, and then you have Kingdom Hearts. The Kingdom Hearts characters were always kind of surprisingly the outlier. And the game was primarily about Final Fantasy people and Disney people coming together to do what they needed to do. And the Kingdom Hearts people from Destiny Islands were actually kind of the outlier. And they were like, yes, they were the main characters.
And
but,
see, I almost disagree. Like, I do agree with the Disney part,
but now
the
you
Final
have Axel.
Fantasy,
Like, Axel's a Kingdom Hearts person.
Mhm.
Like, Xehanort, like Zemnick, like all of the
Kyrie, Jensen.
but now you have a whole cast of Kingdom Hearts people. It's not like, oh, you have a couple of Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts
the only-
people and then a
the only
ton of
Disney
cast.
people, the only Disney people that you have as a cast, main cast, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Chip and Dale.
Chip and Dale, and then you've got Pluto.
Pluto wasn't in Kingdom Hearts 3.
He was in a scene, but I mean,
He's in one scene at the end credits.
and then you have Daisy, and you've got Minnie.
End credits.
I still
That
think they're
doesn't
gonna
count.
be there, but like as far as like, I'm talking about like
Final Fantasy
Pinocchio,
characters are in the
or
DLC.
like Cloud, like those characters aren't really pertaining to the Kingdom Hearts realm, but
Right, but like even then, I don't think they were a main driving force, but they were a backbone to what Sora was doing.
yeah,
They were helping
directly.
him. They weren't main characters though, by any means. They never were. If you
No.
think Final Fantasy was main characters, you're fooling yourself.
No, yeah,
Like
but
there were
it-
more Disney main characters than Final
Oh
Fantasy.
yeah, and it's always been more Disney. And I honestly think, again, to break meta a little bit, I think a lot of it has to do with exposure and funding.
I mean, I'm sure Disney's like, cool, here's an opportunity, and I'm sorry, but Disney gets their hands on things.
And they kind of take over because
And-
money does that.
But I mean,
Like,
that's how it works. They're like, okay, cool, you can use this entity, this thing in our game, but this is how you're going to do it. So what's the best thing to do? Try to get away from it, honestly.
build up
But
and
I,
then try to move away
like,
from
I don't
it.
think we're going to get away from it. Like the game itself, Kingdom Hearts, revolves around these Disney worlds.
Yeah, these like elements of what made Kingdom Hearts what it is.
Like every Kingdom Hearts game has its own worlds that are Kingdom Hearts worlds. Keyblade Graveyard, Ericus's tower, basically. Castle Oblivion, same place. Radiant Garden.
Traverse Town,
Twilight Town. Like the final world, end of the world.
the world that never was.
Yeah. So like all these places exist. So I think they're going in a good direction.
I think I'm actually really excited. I mean, I'm just pretty excited to see more of the Kingdom Hearts worlds. Like I want to see more of like Destiny Islands-esque stuff, more Radiant Garden. Not necessarily. I want to see more Travis Town. I would
play more games
Twilight
than the
Town.
main three.
I should. That should be my good advice for this this fucking podcast after this.
There's tons of Radiant Garden and Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance.
I have to get a fucking... Well, no, because they have the packages now where I can actually play those on
Yeah,
PC
they all in one.
Yeah.
All in one.
I
Of
actually
stories
have
so
it,
far.
so. Shoot. I mean, I want to say one thing. If anything else in this podcast, the game was fucking great. I think it was a fantastic game.
I'm glad I went through it again. So my takeaway to kind of round all this out, I have one question for you. But to round all this out, playing through the levels again was kind of meh, which sucked because I kind of like, it just felt kind of like I was drudging through it. But getting to when I was done with those worlds, getting to the very end of the game, where all the content is, and if you notice, we didn't talk a ton about the story because we want you to actually play it or let us know what you want to see us talk about this game.
Oh, yeah.
But the majority of the content was boom right at the end.
Oh, dude, it's so good. And it's packed. It's like fucking... Right before we jumped on this podcast, we kind of went through this like synopsis type deal, going through and making sure we were like getting everything.
Make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, and like, holy fuck. There's just... Even if we were both like, all right, yeah, let's just do like a little coverage, make sure we're on the same page. There's still like
so that goes
so much.
So that goes into my question for you. So this will be the last question. Since you only played 1, 2, and 3, what was the most wow moment of the game? Spoiler warning, potentially.
Yeah.
What was the most wow moment or the most confusing moment?
Oh man.
Like where you're like, what? I don't understand.
I'm really kind of torn between two. I think the father-son Kamehameha Keyblade between Sora and Riku. The Sora Riku, the father-son Kamehameha Keyblade. I think
that's so funny. You're like, what is that?
Yeah, I think that was pretty like insane. And I was like, I don't even know what's going on right now.
That's super funny. I think that's a throwback to, you would have to play Dream Drop Distance to understand that, I believe.
Okay.
It's a Dream Drop Distance thing.
And then
I believe
I felt like the only other part that really like kind of had me messed up. No, I don't know. Because once you kind of just like try to understand the story, it will make sense if you pay attention.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of convoluted, but if you actually dive into it and consume it, even in small bite size, you will get it.
I don't know. I don't know. There wasn't anything super that hard. Also, we kind of prefaced this in earlier episodes, is that I've watched some of those like longer like shows or like episodes of like kind of explaining things. So I knew a little bit, but dude, when Roxas came out of fucking nowhere and was like, I'm back, and all I needed was time and a connection, and I heard him say like in my head, I'm gonna fuck y'all up. Like, it's fucking time. Like, this is it's fucking a wrap. Because Roxas pulls up and it's like all games are over.
Jeez,
like all games are over,
It's
bro.
such a good moment. Like that whole scene is super good.
Yeah.
So anyway, with all that, this was the second opinion of Kingdom Hearts 3. We hope you enjoyed it. As we said, let us know if there are anything specific you want us to talk about. Kingdom Hearts timeline. Kingdom Hearts games specifically. There are like 12 other games we can talk about.
Yeah, and now is your chance because we said this in the last episode of Kingdom Hearts stuff. There's a lot of stories, so after we get through the 3 main, which we are now, you got to let us know what you want us to talk about now. If there's anything
You guys know where to
specific.
find us. All the stuff is on the bottom of your screen. And don't forget,
If you ain't good,
get good.
GG's.